Hello, my name is Monique Butler, and this is my life.
My life, it's my life, it's my life, it's my life, yeah. My life, my pain, I'ma make it, yeah. I gotta make it, my life.
Hey everybody, I'm Patrice Antoinette. Did you know that research shows people who have experienced traumatic event in their childhood are 3 times more likely to develop a mental health condition in their adulthood? Let's open up this chapter. Monique, do you think that childhood traumas can define who you become as an adult?
I believe that childhood trauma doesn't define who you are as an adult, but it can be a definition of how you see certain things within yourself. So, for example, when you see rejection, if you've been rejected as a child, as an adult, those are certain things that you look for in other people. So it doesn't define you, but it defines others.
Monique, are there any specific traumas that you would say that you've experienced that contributed to the woman that you are, not necessarily define who you are?
Well, there's a lot. The trauma of once again being within an experience of rejection, abandonment. Although being adopted for me wasn't the best experience, and I see that it could be for other people. I've actually seen it been the greatest experience for other people. However, that adoption has been something that it doesn't define me as a woman, but it gave me like certain aspects of how womanhood looks because I never knew how it looked with my mother's. Sorry. So with that being said, um, it shaped me to be a better person. It doesn't define who I am. So I don't know, like specifically if I want to go into those traumatic experiences, but I do know that one of the things that hurts me the most is like how they say women empowerment, and with not having a great mother on either side, an adopted mother or a biological mother, that didn't define me as a woman. However, it gave me some insight of how I am supposed to treat other women and treat women with respect. But also, I get to a point where I don't like women, and it's because of that experience. So it just really doesn't give me an idea of what womanhood looks like. I just had to kind of figure out my own identity and just say to myself, this is what I believe it looks like. So that's where I take it. I don't know.
So it definitely sounds like there were some pros and cons in regards to that situation. It didn't necessarily define you as a person, but it did help build that character to help you become the woman that you are today. Okay. So how would you say it has affected everything that you've gone through? So from the things that you don't necessarily want to go in depth into, and also things like your adoption, how would you say that has affected your adult life, or has it had an impact on your adult life?
Well, at the beginning, like when I was younger, I pretty much I'll give a little bit of history. So I was adopted. Well, I was in foster care from like 3, adopted at 8. One thing about like being adopted, like my identity was changed. So that impacted on how I like lived in my adult life as not knowing who I am. So my name was Keisha Gordon. So when I turned 8, being an 8-year-old, and then your name is being changed, so you don't really know who you are. So that's my name is Monique Butler now. So those traumatic experiences gave me like gosh a terrible like feeling on who I was as a person because I really didn't know. I didn't know if I needed to be Keisha this day or Monique the next day, and I basically ran away at the age of 16 from my adopted home just to live with my biological mother, just to see how, what love looked like on the other side. Okay, is it because I'm adopted that's why I don't feel loved, or is it because I need to go back with my biological family? Am I going to get the love there? And with that, it made me kind of younger as a stronger person because at that point I felt like I didn't know who I was supposed to run to, but I also felt like I could just be alone and do it myself. So everything I've done from then until now has been pretty much on my own. But it has made a great impact because back then I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I don't care what nobody thinks. I'm gonna do what I need to do for myself because who else am I gonna look to? But when I came back, I lived in Florida for like 10 years, went to college down there, came back, just to help out family members. But then that's where I started to lose who I was as a person. So I feel like trauma and certain aspects of life can basically shape and kind of shape who you are as an adult. Is that where you want to be? Not necessarily, but sometimes it takes you down that toll, like takes you down that road. And sometimes the road it could be a great road depending on who's out there that like supports you. But it also can be a very traumatic situation where you don't know if you're going to stay in a dark space because you don't know who you are. And sometimes you let people define who you are. So that's where I was in my experience.
All right, so Monique, do you feel like with everything that you've gone through in your life that at this point that you've overcome any of the traumas that you've experienced thus far?
I can say I've overcame some of the trauma, but right now I'm in therapy to have discussions on how to like step up to the trauma, what the experience is, and how to actually feel it. Because with me, I've done a lot of like suppression and silence. So when you're suppressed, suppression is where you just feel like you don't want to relive it, you don't want to think about it, you let it go in the back of your mind. So for years, I kept myself busy, always being involved when it came to like my son, especially my son, like my son several different sports, so I didn't have to think about anything. I just had to like direct my attention to him. I was involved in a lot of things because I'm a teacher. So with education, I was a part of the Connecticut Education Association, sitting on boards. And my thing is because of my traumatic experiences, I like to be the voice for my students, for the other teachers. So I was a union representative. I sat on governance council. So I made sure that I was very busy, but also intentional. So I made sure that anything I did, it had to have a purpose behind it. But at that time, I didn't have to think. So now because my son is older, he's in college. He doesn't really need me as much because he's able to take himself where he needs to go. Very independent, which I love the fact that he doesn't rely on me because I instilled those values. However, at this time, I have more time to think. And you know how they say idle mind is a, devil's playground. I got to a point where I started thinking a lot on my own. When my son goes to Florida with his dad during the summers, I'm just there by myself. I'm a person that I like to have a great time with other people, but I like to be by myself, because I felt like I'm my safe haven. I'm my own rescue. I don't need anybody to be there for me because I felt like if I do share my experiences with people, then they're going to be judging. So with that, I just felt like the trauma that I've experienced has never been addressed. I never had therapy. I mean, I have had therapy, but not as like a child. And I'm always telling people that trauma is not always from a childhood experience. It's distress, period. It could be trauma from, medical conditions. It could be from a loss of a family member. It can be basically anything that distresses the person. So with that being said, no, I don't feel like I've overcame trauma. I'm actually in therapy now to have conversations, to actually face the experience and actually think about it. Not to say, oh, I don't want to talk about it right now. I've been writing this book, so I'm writing a book now. It's called So They Left Me with Trauma, and the main character in my book name is Trauma, and I have trauma, silence, suppression, transgression, drama, rejection, reflection. So these are all characters within my book of people that I've had experiences since I was a child, and those are the people that I have to face right now. Forgiveness is not in there because I am working on that. Because it's easy to say, "Oh, I forgive you," but when you say "I forgive you," you actually have to show the actions behind it. So the people that cause me the stress or the distress, I don't. At this point, I'm not gonna say I honestly forgive them because I'm not in that space. I'm in a space of let me heads on, see what the trauma is, and how do I experience, like how do I go through the experience and actually feel the pain, not to say I don't want to think about the pain anymore. 7 years of sitting in one spot in my book, I'm at 16, and people are like, well, what does that mean? That means from going from the age of 3 of dealing with those experiences and actually feeling the pain. So I feel like I'm just writing. I don't want to just write because this is supposed to be my healing process. I want to write, think, feel, go through it, and move on. I've been in chapter 16 for the past 2 years, like at age 16 in my book for the past 2 years, because every time I get to that space, that's the space when I ran away from my adopted mom's house to my biological mom, who was still never there. So I lived with her for a year. She was always in Jamaica. She was always at my grandmother's house. Then I left from 16 to 17, almost 18. I went to Florida. They said go to college. I said, hey, furthest place possible, Miami. It wasn't even about partying. It was about they're not gonna get on a plane because I know they don't. I felt like they didn't care, and which they didn't. I was down there for 10 years. So when they say it's like sometimes people would always say, well, you got to get over it. That's not easy to do. It's easier said than done. You can tell me to get over it. Like certain things that I've been through in life, they'll be like, well, that happened in your past. Let that be the past. No, the past actually had to catch up with me because right now I'm feeling the past. I've been through some really dark moments the past couple of years where I got to a point where I was just like, I don't even care no more. And then I had to I had people that's like, yo, you can reach out to me. And I'm like, I'm not used to that. I'm not used to, if I go through the distress, I'm used to figuring it out myself. I'm not talking to a therapist. I don't feel like talking to God anymore. Like, yo, you keep on saying the same thing. Like, he brought you to it. He'll bring you through it. But I'm like, God didn't bring me to this. Like, this person brought me to this space. This person is the one who rejected me. This is the one who abandoned me. This is the one who touched me. Like, God didn't do all this. So why am I sitting here saying, oh, well, God brought you to it. Now you should get through it. Or another thing people always say is like, you know, you'll do better when you struggle. You know, like sometimes they'll be like, oh, you know what? You don't feel nothing until you struggle. I'm like, well, why we got to always struggle? Why do I have to sit and wallow in that pity and that pain because I got to feel struggle? Now, then when I started to struggle, because I've always been a very independent person, I've succeeded at so many things in life that the other day we talking to my therapist, I was like, wow, I wasn't even paying attention that I did this by a certain age. You know, like, for example, I went to college at almost 18. Graduated at 21, became a teacher at 22, you know, got my master's by 29, got a house by 31. All of these things is like just material things, but it's like successes that a lot of my family members didn't, you know, have the opportunity. But they also made me feel bad about certain things that I've succeeded. And with that being said, it's like, so you still want me to struggle. You say, you know, you got to struggle in order to be, you know, succeed, or you got to struggle in order to understand that things are better in life. And I'm like, why do we always have to struggle? Now, when I struggled and I'm going through this dark moment, it's like, oh, look at her. Now she falling. She fell. It's like, so which one you want me to do? So so I got to struggle, and I'm still struggling.
You got to struggle to succeed.
Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So long, I know that like this was like long, but overall, I feel like right now is the best part, the best time of my life to actually sit down and like focus on me, because I'm always focused on everybody else, you know. And focusing on me is kind of hard because I'm like, damn, I'm normally used to taking care of somebody, like taking care when I moved up here, taking care of my adopted mom. You know, I'm in a family where I have 6 brothers, but I still feel like I'm alone. You know, like my brothers was always in and out of getting in trouble and stuff like that. My biological mom never was really there for me, but I'm the person when they got in trouble, they could call me. I do what that needs to be done. Like, you know, I lived in Florida for 10 years. So I used to come home. Every time I come home from break, I'm in somebody's jail. You feel me? Like, oh, you know what? Let me go see my brother here. I got 6 brothers. Only, like, most of them, all 5 of them at one point was in Carl Dougal, you know, whatever, you know, Carl Robinson, McDougal. I'm over here in Unclesville, and I'm like, well, damn, give me a khaki jumpsuit because I might as well sit next to you. You get what I'm saying? But I'm there for them, and I'm helping them. But when I get to my dark moment, you know, I reach out to them. They'll be like, yo, you need to get over that shit. You know, you could do better than that. Like, you're not that type of person. I'm like, but I'm falling. Can you pick me up? You know, and that's why I say that right now, this is the best time for me because I had to let a lot of people go and it hurts. Like when I say a lot of people, I had to let like most of my brothers go. Recently, my mother, you know, my adopted mom, she's not here anymore. So, but I still don't like her. You know, I'm being at a point where I'm like, yo, I'm seriously, I haven't went to her gravesite for years. I went the other day. I was real mad. I was pissed off. I was like real angry. Like, yo, there was a lot of choice words that I don't care. Like, but
I'm sorry, this about to make me cry.
Yeah.
And I am gonna say, like, I give you so much credit being able to do this, because I done been through some things in my life, and I'm not there yet. I don't have the courage to really sit down and face that mirror and tell my own story, because I've been through a lot on so many different aspects of my life.
And this is a lot. So I take my hat off to you. I give you a lot of courage, because it takes a lot of courage to really look in the mirror and hear about your traumas and really say it out loud and acknowledge it. That takes a lot. I'm not there yet. I'm not.
Well, you just saying what you just said. That's like a step forward, you know, because you're not there. And to be honest, I like the fact that you guys have this platform. I was sitting here telling Glenn, I sent him a text message. I was like, this is a great platform because I don't like to talk about stuff like this, but I feel like there's so many people that's going through pain and trauma and not understanding how to express themselves. And especially with me having a son, you know, I want my son to know that, yeah, his mother's a strong woman, but his mother can't always be superwoman. And when my son saw me fall, I'm happy he saw me because I'm the person that hide everything. When I tell you certain things that I've been through, nobody even knew about it because I said I could get through it. But it got to a point when I fell, I just couldn't get back up, you know, and my son wasn't here with me. He was in Florida with his dad for the pandemic. And that's when everything went down him because he went down there for a year. Now I'm used to my son being with me. We've been up here for almost 16 years and he came up here, he was 2. So although his dad was involved in his life, he seen me every day. He seen his dad during the summers for like, you know, a couple of months. And I definitely, you know, appreciate his dad for still making sure that he's like, you know, involved and a role model. I had problems with him too because he's the reason why I'm here. He's the one who encouraged me to come and take care of a person that he knew that causing me a lot of distress, you know. But as a person, the person I am, I like to let certain things go to a point where I say, you know what, we were young, we were kids, we didn't know what we really wanted, so I let that go. But I want my son to see me as a person, not like other people who always see me as the one who can sit here and save them. I'm not a savior. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus. I'm not none of those people. When I'm here to help, I'm here to help. I'll give you everything that I can because I'm that type of person. Somebody sit here and say, Keisha, Monique, whatever, yo, can you do this? It don't always have to be financial. I need you to show up for this event because I'm doing this. You know what? What day is it? I'll let you know. Sometimes I used to always alter my schedule to show up for people. You know, now I'm like, I'm not altering anything unless I feel like it's intentional. If it's something that is really benefiting that person because they're here to inspire and help, I'm there. But if it's something for selfish reasons, no. My son had to see me fall and he didn't really see me fall. His dad had to tell him, like, yeah, your mom is going through some things right now. She got, you know, X, Y, and Z happening with her, whatever. I don't want you to see your mom in a different light. But sometimes when you go through depression and stuff like that, because I've been depressed, I've been extremely depressed. To a point, it was very intense. I even had to go to a psychiatric ward. That's how depressed I was. And I never tell people that, you know, my son, it was last June that I had to go. And my son was like, you know, really sad. His dad stopped talking to me for a moment. And I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. See, this is beyond rock bottom. I hit rock bottom once. This is beyond. This is a point where I don't want to talk to nobody. I feel like nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. Even the people that sit here and tell me that they care about me and love me, I'm like waiting for them to sit here and just leave out my life. Like, okay, well, they said they love me and care for me, so now you saying it. But yes, their actions are showing it, but I get to a point I don't even want to see it.
Definitely understand, can relate, all of that, all of the above. All right, now I definitely want to say or give you a big kudos to you just in regards to your book. And like you said, it's been therapeutic for you or a form of therapy for you. Now, would you consider you writing that book as a tool that helped you with going through the things that you're trying to overcome or work through?
Well, it's definitely helping me to look at the experiences and to feel the pain rather than to like let the pain go to the back of my mind, because once I let it go to the back of my mind and when it resurfaces, it becomes worse. So then it becomes, you know, how you have a problem with a relative or a spouse, and instead of addressing the problem, you let it slide, or then you brush it under the rug. And then it's a week later, then it's a month later, then it's a year later. But then that problem, the first problem existed. Now there's more problems that's being built on top of that. So that's the problem that, problem. But that's the problem that I have with writing my book is like, when I'm trying to get through the first experience, it's so many different layers. So it makes me to a point I don't want to do it anymore. But now I feel like I have to, because if I keep on going down this path, I might not be here anymore. is that deep, you know? I mean,
I definitely understand that part. Now, in regards to the writing your book, definitely mentioned that that has helped you, and it is helping you, and it is a process that you're taking one step at a time. And you also mentioned therapy. Outside of those two, are there any other tools that you have used, or would you suggest someone in your shoes to use that could help them, walk through this a little bit easier?
um, definitely when people are showing you who they are on both sides of the fence, to accept them for who they are. And then what I mean by that, if a person is showing you their negative bad side, to let them go. And that's the problem that I have, because there's a lot of people that we call family. And I had to realize what family, the true definition of a family is more so of a friendship. So we're not really born into a friendship. We're born into people because that's why we were born into that family. However, but my thing is, like, from one side of the fence to let people go, but for the other side where people are really there extending their hands and offering support, and they're showing that they're genuinely there to support, for me to accept that, because I always feel like Keisha, Monique could do it all by herself. I'd rather fall, hide, and not even come out for a while, but that's just causing more pain. So I am really trying my hardest to allow people to be more into my space than to like let them go, because I would much rather be by myself, to be honest.
So if you were looking in the mirror right now, or you were looking at Lil Monique or Lil Keisha right now, what advice would you give to yourself?
The advice that I would definitely would give is that you are worthy, you are important, to love yourself. And the problem, I think the problem with that one is because I actually had a voice and I used my voice to tell certain things, but it wasn't like heard. So to just keep talking and talk to the right people, I think so. Because like when I told what the traumatic experiences that I had with my adopted mom or whatever, she just kind of like let it slide, and then I stopped talking about it. But I felt like if I could tell her, you know what, tell my younger self, like, you know what, talk to someone else, because what happens in this house stayed in the house. But I felt like I was always one of those like combative kids where my mom would tell me to do something, and sometimes I had to, like, be rebellious and say, okay, so why am I doing it? Like, you told me to do this, so what's? Yeah, I used to get a lot of, like, what we call spankings nowadays, yeah, and whoopings, because of that. But I would tell myself, you know what, it doesn't matter. Tell somebody else, because I felt like, yeah, she was supposed to be my like safe haven, but she didn't do what she was supposed to do. Because if I would have told somebody else and they were there to rescue me at that point, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now.
I love it. And I love the saying that you just said, that you would say to your younger self, keep talking, and talk to the right person. I love that. So with everything that you've gone through your life and that you're still working through right now, would you consider yourself, current day, would you consider yourself a victim or a survivor at this point?
Well, I'm no longer going to say victim. And that's a thing that I had to realize the other day, because sometimes not even sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, I always want people to understand my pain, but I have to also let myself understand that they haven't been through the pain. You can tell them about your story. You can lead them by giving them, some of your journey, but being a victim is no longer something that I can continue to be, because I want people to feel how I feel. They can't feel how I feel. They have not walked in that, that space or those shoes. But I can definitely say a survivor. And I'm just feeling like I need to continue to survive, and not survive to a point where I'm not living, though. Because, being a survivor, sometimes you just hold on to like those little parachutes. That's something that's going to keep on pulling you up. You just want to hold on to that. But it's like, it's time to stop like being a victim. Stop trying to just survive, but to actually live.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Monique. So just want to,
I'm going to say, wait, Keisha, but go ahead.
Keisha, Monique, Keisha. All right. So Undergoing traumatic experiences in your childhood leaves a long-lasting impact on an individual's overall well-being. Research has shown that with certain types of experiences during your formative years can have major effects on your mental and physical health. Life was hard, and it is hard, but we have the proper tools and we have to learn how to really use them. You never know the next person's story. Thanks for tuning into My Life.